Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Inner Dialogue podcast. My name's Lissa, and I'm going to be your host for this podcast. So, we're going to be talking all about social media, pop culture, mental health, and just anything in that sphere. So, each episode, I'm going to dive into a new topic. I'm going to give you some research, some of my own opinion, and we'll kind of discuss it. So first, I'm going to give you a little background on myself. My name's Lissa, and I really love all things pop culture, social media. I'm a bit chronically online, as some might say. I try to limit my social media consumption, but I very much am chronically online. So I definitely see a lot of content. I basically just wanted to create this space where I could talk about the things I see, do some research, and share it with everybody. So yeah, let's just dive right into today's subject. So today we are going to be talking about the what I eat in a day trend. So it's okay, you know what? It's not even a trend. I'm not even going to call it a trend. But basically, it's this cultural internet mainstay, kind of a type of content that is so relevant to pretty much any online niche. And it's been going on, as we'll discuss. It's been around for a while, but we're just going to talk about kind of the effects of it, the different types of what I eat in a day content, how it can be harmful, how it can be helpful, and then we're kind of going to talk about how we can discern whether this type of content is positive or negative for our own mental health, or sort of how to tell if a video is making you feel some type of way, and just kind of diving right into it. So I also wanted to say that I wanted to create a really positive space on this podcast, so it's not going to be all me just going into a topic, ripping it apart, saying this is so bad, we need to stop doing this. I really wanted to talk about how these things can be positive and how we can turn them into a positive thing and how we can interact with social media in a good way, because I really believe that it can be a helpful thing, and it can actually really enrich your life. I mean, I feel this way about a lot of videos I watch, productivity content, although not toxic productivity, which I think I might make a video on because that could be interesting. But yeah, productivity, just motivation, and just videos that really sort of enrich your life, motivate you to be a better person. I don't want this to be a place of just overall negativity and everything sucks. So with that being said, let's get right into today's topic. So we are talking about what I eat in a day videos. So if you've ever been scrolling on Instagram or TikTok and you come across a video of a really gorgeous girl, she's making her little breakfast, what I eat in a day as a model, what I eat in a day as a student, what I eat in a day as a full-time nurse, and it's all this gorgeous food, it's so perfectly curated, and you're like, why does my meal not look like that? Why don't I eat like that? Why am I eating a PB&J every single day? And why don't I look like her? So, obviously, it can bring up a lot of emotions, and these videos are very, very prevalent on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, full-length videos, short videos, all of the above. So, let's do a quick dive into the origins of these videos. And by the way, I do have my notes here, so I'm not going off the cuff. I've got my research right here. So it all started back in 2011 when vegan bloggers started sharing their what I eat in a day videos. So they started sharing their diets, and this kind of era was the pinnacle, maybe not the pinnacle, but that was the time where the vegan vegetarian diet was probably one of the most popular diets. And so they would share their what I eat in a day as a vegan, and it's all their recipes they eat, what they eat, how much they eat, and it really became kind of a thing. It really took off. And then it sort of moved into other online communities, so vegan bodybuilding, fitness communities, kind of the wellness sphere, not mainstream, but very much the health and wellness side of YouTube. And this is also when YouTube was the main platform, the biggest platform. TikTok wasn't around. Instagram wasn't really the way it is now. Instagram has become a real platform for sharing videos, it wasn't that way at this era. So yeah, it was mostly like longer form YouTube videos. So in 2015, more mainstream creators started hopping on this trend of posting what I eat in a day videos on YouTube. So it kind of took off more in just like other niches and other vloggers and bloggers sharing what I eat in a day, even if they weren't necessarily like a wellness YouTuber, even if they were just in a totally different community, it became more of a popular trend. And then in 2017, there was some backlash to these videos. So there was one video I saw from around this time, 2017-ish, I think, and it was like a dietitian reacting to what I eat in a day videos, kind of talking about how it wasn't helpful, it was kind of bordering on not super healthy eating habits, but the backlash wasn't like intense. Like obviously the trend still continued. But yeah, after 2015 and the YouTube era, it's just sort of continued to be a popular type of content for anybody, and it especially has taken off on like the short form platforms, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts too, honestly. But yeah, that kind of brings us up to the current state of things of the what I eat in a day videos. We're gonna talk a little bit about what I have observed online in this current era of social media. So thumbnails of these videos on YouTube, so when you like are scrolling and you see the thumbnail of the video and it's a what I eat in a day video, it'll often have someone's body in it, it'll often be very sensationalized, a very like eye-catching thumbnail that often will be sent like the central photo will be like, yeah, someone's body or just like a selfie, which is interesting to know. We'll kind of go into that later. In TikTok videos, there's tons of these, by the way, like literally so many. I probably haven't even seen a fraction of them. But in TikTok videos, there's also usually like the video will start with like the person and it's like low-key a body check. I don't know if it's meant to be, but it definitely is helpful to the algorithm because that's kind of like an eye-catching thing. You're like, oh wow, she's really gorgeous, I want to look like her, I want to see what she eats. And yeah, there's a wide range of this kind of content. So there's obviously like weight loss videos, what I eat in a day to lose weight, and that's not necessarily negative because obviously that can be really helpful. But yeah, there's like what I eat in a day to lose weight, what I eat in a day as in a calorie deficit, and then this ranges all the way to the other side where it's more body positivity, what I eat in a day as a normal person, what I eat in a day not trying to lose weight, like very much just like this is my everyday life, I'm a normal person. And then I don't know if this technically counts, but also in recent months, I would even say probably like more this year, there's been a real rise of like the mukbang videos, so like people eating a lot of food, and I feel like that's a whole other category, but it kind of is like similar, so that would be like on the very opposite side of the spectrum of these videos. So yeah, it fits into a lot of niches. So fitness, obviously there's a big, like people want to see what they should be eating, if they're trying to get into fitness, trying to get into running, even like running, what I eat in a day as a runner, what I eat in a day as a student. It just fits into so many things. And so obviously there's a huge market for this content because we all eat, everybody eats. And then kind of with the popularity of sort of like everyone wants to fit into a community, everyone wants to fit into a like label, there's going to be so much demand for what I eat in a day as a certain person because you kind of aspire to be that kind of person. I don't know if that made sense, but anyway, it even fits into the niche of Christianity and faith-based influencers, which I think is just kind of a funny detail. Not funny in a funny way, but I'm just like, that's very interesting. Like, what I eat in a day. There's this one girl that, okay, to be honest, I really do like her videos. They're very nicely made and very chill and fun to watch, but it's like, what I eat in a day as a holy girl, and I'm like, okay, girl, you do you. It fits, basically what I'm trying to say is it fits into pretty much any category you can think of. If you're an influencer of any kind, this will fit into what you're doing. And that's also probably why there's so many of these videos. So let's talk about why we are so obsessed with these videos, because it's very interesting if you think about it. Like, why do so many people want to watch what other people are eating? Like, why? Like, I mean, I want to see it. I know other people want to see these videos. Like, I really enjoy watching these videos. I'm very interested in what other people are eating. I kind of want to be like, oh, what am I eating versus what other people are eating, which, by the way, that's comparison, and we will be going into that later. But I did some research on why we're so obsessed with other people's lives on social media, because it's kind of a phenomenon that, I mean, I know people talk about it, but I hadn't really thought about it on a deeper level. So here's what I found on that. So why are we so obsessed with others? So part of it is like a little bit of voyeurism, so a passive observer watching others actively engage. And this is with all social media, pretty much. We really are just passively watching somebody else. This is kind of like, it doesn't really make sense, because with content and with watching content, it's like, I found in this article, it's kind of like an active exchange. Like, you are actively engaging with the content. You're not just sitting back and watching. Like, it also affects you actively. So it's not like a morbid fascination necessarily. Of course, it can be sometimes, but in the context of what I eat in a day videos, it wouldn't be. And it's kind of just like us watching other people live their lives and seeing that window into other people's lives. It's kind of how we try to make sense of the world around us. And this desire to observe sort of comes from the desire to exchange information about who we are, and we use others as like a data point to observe ourselves and compare ourselves, and not necessarily in a negative comparison way, but in a like, just sort of, am I quote unquote normal? Am I fitting into society? Am I just following what society expects of me? And this can be in any category, but I think that's one of the reasons why we're so fascinated with seeing other people, because it's like we use that as a social cue, sort of, to live our lives. Like, we use that as reassurance to see if we're living our lives in a way that is societally acceptable. And this would have been, well, I mean, this has always been a thing, but in this current age, because we're not as social, like, in real life, it's kind of transitioned to this online sort of social interaction, like pseudo interaction, and we kind of like crave that just to check ourselves and see if what we're doing is normal. And we rely on the behavior of others to make decisions and judgments about our own lives, because we gain information and knowledge from videos, from stuff online, from people around us, and we apply that to our own lives. And it's not necessarily a conscious decision where you're thinking about, oh, I saw this video. I mean, sometimes it definitely is. I know I'm like that a little bit. But it can also be subconscious. Like, the stuff you see online, the things people say around you, just becomes part of you. And it's important to have awareness, like a social awareness. We draw on the experiences of others that we see to make decisions about what we do in life. So yeah, we've always kind of used others as a jumping off point to decide what to do with our own lives. And it just so happens that we have this like huge sphere of content, of a glimpse into other people's lives, and so it's like almost so overwhelming that we're seeing all this information, all this knowledge of how other people live their lives, and it becomes not just like place to gain knowledge and to gain insight into how to live our lives, but it becomes occasionally a bit toxic, where you're comparing yourself to others, and instead of just using others as a means to navigate life, it's like using others to criticize yourself and be hard on yourself, and it really takes a toll on your mental health when it gets to that point. So let's talk a little bit about the problems with this content, and then we will obviously talk about the positives, because this is not a negative space. So yeah, the negatives with this content is obviously big one right off the bat: comparison. So when you see a video of somebody making their what I eat in a day, their healthy food, and they show themselves in the beginning of the video and they look so good, toned, maybe the exact body that you wish you could have, you're obviously gonna think to yourself, well, how can I look like them? And if they're sharing what they eat, your mind goes to, well, if I just ate that, I would look like them. And the problem with this is, well, there's many, many problems with this. First of all, everyone has genetically a different body, and eating the food that someone is recommending is not going to make you look like them. It's just not. We all have different needs, we all have different body compositions, we all have different levels of activity, and there's so much that you don't know about this person's life, and just taking it at face value and comparing yourself to them is not going to help you at all. And then unlicensed advice. So when people share their what I eat in a day, it's not necessarily always like advice. Sometimes it's just presented as this is just what I eat, but more often than not it is taken as advice, because when you see that and you make that like link in your brain of if I want to look like this, I need to eat like this, then it will come across as advice and you think it's advice. But a lot of these people are just regular people. Some of them definitely could be nutritionists, could be somebody who has the knowledge to make that kind of content that can be actually informational, but a lot of it is just a random person. They're just sharing what they eat in a day and they're just talking about what works for them. And so it can be really not great if you see that and take that at face value as if it's like professional advice, because a lot of the time it is not. Yeah, this is not one size fits all. Like, food is very individual, and what works for one person could totally not work for another. So, for example, I've been seeing a lot of the carnivore diet on my TikTok and my Instagram, and the thing that really bothers me about these videos is they will say a lot of the time that this is the diet. Like, if you eat like this, like, your life will change. This will work for everybody. This has changed their life. And another thing with that is like the over-promising of, yeah, this diet will just change your life. And I think that can be really, really dangerous to say to an audience. But the other thing is, yeah, the one size fits all, like, sure, it may work for somebody, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. Everybody has their own needs. And for me as an athlete, I run all the time, I bike and I swim, and that's a lot of like cardio. And don't come for me, like, I'm sure there's people who run and who do these things who are carnivores, like only eat meat, but if I were to not eat any carbs, I would simply pass out. Like, especially when I'm on a long run or like doing something, like, I need carbs, I need sugar. Also, I am not a dietitian, so don't like take this and run with it, but I was talking to my friend who's a nutritionist, and she said that if you're doing like a long run or something that's like a prolonged amount of cardio, you do need sugars like halfway through. So if I were to just eat beef, like, I don't think that would work for me. So these people saying that this will work for anyone is very, very misleading and can be pretty dangerous if you don't have a lot of critical thinking skills to like discern that, or if you're just not really super informed about eating and nutrition, which a lot of people aren't necessarily, because you kind of find what works for you. You don't, unless you're really, really into fitness and stuff, there's not always like a reason to be super, super informed about food. So that can get pretty dangerous. And then there's obviously a link between social media and eating disorders, disordered eating, that's been studied. And I mean, it's kind of annoying to just be like, yes, it's the phone, like, if you get off your phone you'll feel better, which it's true, by the way. Like, it really is the phone. But I do think that this content can be really triggering and can lead to some pretty negative effects, especially among young girls. And going back to the thing with like the way these videos are framed, with this really gorgeous girl at the beginning, super athletic body, kind of like that ideal beauty standard, it really creates this idea for people that they need to eat a certain way to look a certain way, and then you see their body and you compare it to your own. And for some people, this wouldn't even faze them because they're at a place where, you know, they like the way they look, they're happy with how they look. But for younger girls who are really impressionable, and often like body image issues are really bad at that time, it could be pretty harmful if you saw that and then you thought that's how you had to eat, and it was a way of eating that was just not sustainable for you and wasn't good for your body. And then with the comparison aspect, like seeing those videos and being so bombarded with like this ideal beauty standard can really take a toll on your mental health and make you feel like that's the way you have to look, when in reality, like, that's not even necessarily real. People can be editing stuff, people can be omitting stuff they eat from their videos. They might show you what they're eating, and that might not actually be what you're eating. So, obviously, that link is there between social media use and eating disorders, and I think this is not necessarily the reason for it. What I eat in a day videos are, like, the root cause of, like, the effects of social media and causing eating disorders, but I do think it definitely contributes, because I can see how that would have a pretty big effect on someone who might already be struggling with that kind of thing. And then, yeah, it can just be triggering for like disordered eating behaviors if you see someone who's eating a certain way, who looks a certain way, and then that might even cause you to like fall back into something that isn't healthy for you. So we've talked a lot about the negatives, but as I said, I don't want this to be a negative space where we just talk about all the things that are wrong with the world and with social media. So let's go in and talk about some positives. Let's bring the mood up here a little. So first of all, what I eat in a day videos can be really cool for sharing recipes and cultural diversity. So somebody who's living somewhere else in the world, showing what they eat, sharing their recipes, that can give you a really broad idea of what people eat around the world and what kind of recipes people are eating. And then maybe you take inspiration from that and you broaden your diet instead of restricting your diet, which some videos might cause you to do. That actually might make you want to expand what you eat and discover new foods that you enjoy. So I think that can be a really great thing about these videos. And then videos that are from the lens of like balanced eating and healing from disordered eating and that kind of thing can actually be really great for showing a balanced diet. And some people may never have grown up eating a balanced diet and may not even know what that looks like, but these videos that show a more balanced diet could help show somebody how to make food for themselves and how to create a more healthy relationship with food, and I think that's really great. And then recovery content, that's what I eat in a day, like recovering from disordered eating or an eating disorder, that can be really helpful to people who are going through the same thing because they feel less alone. They might feel encouraged to keep going on their journey. The one thing with that is it can border on being a little bit, it's not even toxic, but a little bit triggering if somebody is recovering and you compare yourself to them. So I think you just have to be careful if you're coming from a place of recovering from an eating disorder. Interacting with that content can be great, really helpful, but you just have to like be like, is this helping me or is this making me feel worse? And then healthy weight loss advice, healthy what I eat in a day to lose weight videos can be good. I say this, like, take this with a grain of salt because it can go down a really slippery slope of people who don't need to lose weight taking this advice, or people taking advice that is not good. But if it is good, helpful content from like a nutritionist or somebody who knows what they're talking about, that can be helpful. If you're on a health, fitness, weight loss journey, that could be helpful. But again, it kind of goes both ways with that one. And then motivation to eat healthier. So I really, really enjoy videos of people sharing, it's not necessarily what I eat in a day, but like recipes and stuff, or even just if somebody's showing, oh, what I eat in a day, and it's like coffee and their cute breakfast, and I see all the yummy, healthy looking food they're eating, it kind of motivates me to want to cook more at home, do more healthy eating stuff, and even just focus more on like getting in my nutrients. So I think that that kind of content can be helpful just for people in general to be like, yeah, like I want to focus more on healthy eating. And healthy eating doesn't mean restricting at all. It means getting the kind of diet that, and by the way, diet doesn't mean like diet, like restrictive diet. I'm talking like just what you eat. But yeah, like it can help people be more motivated to want to make food that is healthy and makes them feel good and fuels their day. Like for me, I know I don't get enough protein, even though I should because I run a lot. And seeing people make all their different meals throughout the day and they're like adding in their protein, I'm like, okay, I need to get on that. And that's motivation for me. So I think that can be a good aspect as well. And then, yeah, encouraging home cooking. A lot of the What I Eat in a Day videos are, if it's like health focused, will be including more recipes of cooking at home and not going out. Although I do think it's important to show balance. Like, let's be honest, nobody cooks every meal at home 24/7 every day of the year. Like, I think it's important that we represent that balance of, yeah, it's okay to go out and eat. But I do think that these videos can encourage people to cook at home, which first of all, saves money, so that's great. Second of all, usually is healthier. And then also it can just be fun to cook more at home and make food that you're proud of. So those are some of the positive aspects. Let's talk a little bit about why this content is pushed out so much on social media. So first of all, social media is a big game of comparison. It's all about showcasing the highlights. It's all about showing the most sensational, idealized, romanticized life. And I think that a lot of What I Eat in a Day videos fall into this, and they're very aspirational, they're very curated, and we like to see that. And I think that kind of content that's very curated is really nice to watch, and for some reason, like, our brains just latch onto that. I mean, it's kind of similar to like the thing I was talking about with why we're so obsessed with other people's lives, and we're very much drawn to that like curated, beautiful, quote unquote perfect life. So I think a lot of people interact with that, gets pushed out. And then the other thing is definitely videos that are very focused on weight loss or have connotations of that are pushed out a lot because of our beauty standard of the thin, perfect body being put on this pedestal. So videos that, especially in YouTube videos, I find like if the thumbnail has someone's like transformation or like weight loss transformation, those will have such a high amount of views because I think people see that and are like, I want that, I want to do that. And even if it's not like someone who needs to lose weight, I think a lot of people can get into that trap of thinking like, I just need to, if I were to be thinner, I would be a better person. First of all, not true. Second of all, not true. Third of all, not true. But yeah, so those videos will get a lot of clicks, a lot of views, and they just get pushed out more because we have this fixation on being thin, which it's a whole thing. It's not a great thing. Not gonna go deep into that right now. But yeah, and then the body checking at the beginning of the videos, it's very attention grabbing. Like if you see that, I feel like it must do something in your brain that triggers you to like want to watch the video. It like grabs your attention. You're like, she looks like that, I want to look like that, subconsciously. Like I probably do that without even thinking of it. I mean, I definitely do that without thinking of it. So then that'll grab your attention, that video will get pushed out into the algorithm more, etc., etc. And then I feel like there's a bit of a negative feedback loop with this kind of content too. Like I think creators get a lot of clicks, views, etc. when they post videos that have that maybe outward appearance of being like weight loss focused. There's one creator I know who I actually really love her videos, and she mostly does like body positivity stuff, like what I eat in a day to be healthy and stay fueled, but her thumbnails used to be very almost like clickbait. It would be like how I stay thin eating lots of calories, and it's like this thumbnail that kind of gives this one idea, and then the video is actually something a lot more positive. But I do think you could get caught in that loop of making content that's borderline a little bit toxic, and then you get lots of feedback for that, you get lots of engagement for that, and then you want to create more of that content, and then more and more of it just gets pushed out and put onto the internet, and we see more of that. So I think that's kind of unfortunate, because I feel like people should be rewarded and get like more interaction for things that are net positive, and I think that's kind of annoying that a creator would have to like feel like they need to make a certain kind of content just because it grabs people's attention and plays into their insecurities. And speaking of that, I actually feel like this content can be a little bit like, I wouldn't say predatory, but that's the only word I can think of right now. But I do think it does really play into people's insecurities. Like, it really, not necessarily on purpose, like it's not like the creators are purposely doing this, but a lot of people do struggle with body image. I wish I would have looked up a statistic for that, but a lot of people do. And when you see a what I eat in a day video, that can really just like play into the thoughts you already have that are negative about yourself and make it worse. And the other thing with social media that every day I think about this and it makes me so mad is that your algorithm gives you content that isn't necessarily good for you. I mean, I think we all know this, but a lot of the content I get pushed out, especially on my Instagram, is stuff I'm like, I don't want to see this. Like, this is not helpful for me. Like, I was talking about the carnivore thing, the amount of carnivore reels I get, and I'm like, I am not a carnivore. I don't plan on being a carnivore. But because I react negatively to them, and I'm like, I feel weird about them, I'll check the comments, I'll check the person's account, and I interact with it. So it pushes me to see more and more of that. So if you're somebody who struggles with body image and you see a lot of these videos and you're like, it kind of makes you feel weird and you're like, oh, I don't really want to watch this, but then it kind of makes you you feel like interacting with it, you'll get more of that, and it just goes down the spiral of you start to feel worse and worse. So how can we make this less of a negative thing? How can we make what I eat in a day videos more of a positive thing? Because I don't think it's something that needs to go away. Like, I'm not saying this kind of content is bad. I do think there's lots of negative aspects, but I don't think it's a bad thing. And I think that making it a more positive space, like making eating and nutrition content a more positive space, starts with us and starts with figuring out how certain videos affect you and how you deal with your own emotions surrounding that. So if you see certain types of videos, you might think, oh, this is fine, like this doesn't affect me. But I think it's important when we see stuff online to really analyze how we feel about it. Like, if you see a video that is what I eat in a day and you feel a little bit uncomfortable or it makes you feel not so great, then I think it's important to check yourself and be like, okay, I'm scrolling away, I'm logging off, I'm gonna not interact with that content so much. And then I think also sometimes we can get stuck in a trap of thinking something is helpful when it's really not. So for example, if you really like somebody for their recipe content or their nutrition, whatever, wellness content, you might think, oh, this is helping me a lot, this is helping me stay healthy. But I do think we need to be thinking a little bit deeper, and is this actually helping me, or is this making me motivated to a point where it's unhealthy, or is this just making me feel bad about myself? Am I seeing this going, this is great, I wish I could be like this, why am I not like this? So I think we need to look inwards and make sure we're interacting with the content that makes us feel good. And obviously nobody's perfect. I watch way too many videos that are definitely not good for my mental health, i.e. the carnivore videos. Someone save me from Instagram Reels. But I do think it starts with us. And then, yeah, I think that it's important to have discernment on social media, and critical thinking, obviously a very important thing. One thing that I think we need to keep in mind when watching what I eat in a day videos, and just when being online in general, is that we're only seeing what the person chooses to share. And I was actually reading this article when I was preparing for this video, and it was about a creator who said that she was like purposely cutting parts of her videos out. Like she wouldn't show like the snacks she was eating because that's not like the highlight, you know? Like we want to show, like, creators want to share the highlights. Social media is a highlight reel. I'm sure you've heard that tons of times before. But yeah, when you're watching that content, the comparison that you think is there isn't necessarily there, because you might just be comparing yourself to something totally not real. And in fact, a lot of time you might be comparing yourself to something that's not real. So just remember that this person could be editing their videos, they could be omitting stuff from their videos, so not sharing certain things they eat, and you never know someone's intentions with their video. You never know what's going on behind the scenes, if they're actually healthy, if what they're saying is true or not. So just keep that in mind when you're online. And yeah, I think I'm gonna call it there for today's episode. I'm so glad you decided to tune in today, and I'll see you next time for another pop culture social media chat.